it seems as though my camera, for some reason that I'm using on Ustream, is not quite working fine. And so I don't quite know why that is, but I'm on there anyway. Ustream.tv/Sandra Said It. Oh, hi everybody. I'm so excited. Sometimes during the course of the day, I think about having the opportunity to come on here and talk to you. I just think of how blessed I feel to be a part of this group, and I say that all the time. And I'm glad I help you, Chris, because I help myself. You know, it's funny. I'm always telling people about this is really just about me. You guys get to eavesdrop on my conversations that I'm having with myself, and so I feel so blessed to be able to do that and to talk out loud. So, yeah, it's an honor and it's a pleasure to come in here and to have you even listen to me and rant on about the stuff that goes on in my life. I am going to today be jotting down a few things that I know that I want to touch on as I go through this, and hopefully I won't lose my way. I love playing with myself. Is that what you said? Yes. Okay. Long as you. Okay, so yeah, so I love that you love playing with yourself too. And you guys, for those of you who may be on Ustream or who may be listening via the radio, um, there is a chat window that is in Pal Talk where you can talk and chat with me as I talk. And because I'm sitting here looking at the screen and at the camera, I can see both simultaneously. If you're on Ustream, there is also a chat segment there as well, and I can see you just as good there. And you can see me sitting in my junkie office. And it's okay with me that it's junky, because they say that a junky office is a sign of a junky mind or a cluttered mind, and I have so much that goes on in my mind. I was just tweeting earlier today that I really need a digital recorder, because sometimes in my shower I get these what I think are profound thoughts. I get these mind spurts that come up, and it is just awesome. And so I sit there and I'm talking to myself in the shower, and when I'm driving down the street I'm talking to myself, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to say and what I'm going to talk about, whether it's here in the room on the radio, or if I am speaking on a Sunday, I'm just constantly in this conversation. And it would be wonderful if I could just get me a voice recorder so then I can record some of this stuff and you can hear some of my mind chatter as it goes on, because there's so much. And you know what? Here's the wonderful thing I also learned is that they say to whom much is given, much is expected. So it's this thing of the more I share, the more I pour out of what I'm receiving out of my heart, the more I get to share. And so it becomes this constant flood and flow. And, I haven't, like I love to meditate, but I haven't been on point like normal because I'm at the hospital so much with my dad. And so because of that, I'm not, because I would, any given morning, I would start meditating and be lost for over an hour. And then when I come back, when I come back to myself, it's like, oh my God, like not only was it great, but so much time lapsed when it only seemed like it was a second. So I suppose that the conversation continues now in the shower, or in the car, or washing dishes, or any mundane task that I'm doing. It's like all of a sudden that's a invitation for spirit to open up and start to share with me, and I love it. I love it. And so I yeah. My birthday is next Tuesday, and I forgot to tell you guys. I will probably record something if I'm not planning to be here, so that you guys can hear it anyway. But I'm just so excited about all that. So here, let me start off like I normally start off. This is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The aim of the course is not to teach the meaning of love, because that is beyond what can be taught. It does, however, aim at removing the blocks to your awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposites. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Isn't that just absolutely fabulous? Herein lies the peace of God. So, for those of you who don't know, who are listening for the first time, that was from the introduction of A Course in Miracles. That's right behind the table of contents, right in front of the text, chapter 1, and that's how it goes. And if I know, of course, I add a couple of words and leave out a couple of words all the time, but that is from the introduction, and so you're real and you can't be threatened. Isn't that awesome? So, today I thought to myself when when I was coming in, I was thinking to myself, what am I going to share? What am I going to share? And I started thinking to myself that I wanted to share some information with you guys. And I don't know if I've shared this. I've got like all these years of experience, whatever experiences they are. I've got all these years of experience. And so sometimes I remember to tell you guys about certain things, and sometimes I don't. And sometimes it just doesn't matter. But I wanted to tell you, share this with you guys today. I, some years ago, set up a prayer group that was just about 6 or 7 women, and we would get together every week, and we would, for the purpose of praying. But every time before we did our prayer work, we had to spend a couple of hours discussing what it was that we needed to pray about. So we needed to do a thing called a check-in. So we'd sit there and we'd talk about what was going on in our lives, and where we'd come with the prayers that we had set before or made before. And we would go through all this stuff, and then eventually we started eating, and it became this Wednesday night thing where we would spend 3 or 4 hours just kind of just I mean, some people would call it a hen party, but it was like an every week thing where we would get together, and it was just so rich and so wonderful. So, we did a number of things, one of which was we did the Course in Miracles. We studied out of that. We talked about, different books that we had read. We incorporated some book reading in there, and, just learning lessons, whatever they were. We were just, on this spiritual quest. And I mean, for years, I think we did it for about 10 years before the group kind of disbanded. And for whatever reasons why we disbanded, I guess the reasons behind it is not so much important as the richness that was there. But one year, some years ago, we all decided we were doing spiritual work in this group. And so one of the things that we decided we were going to do was to start to do healing work or energy work on one another. And so in our group, we would, we would, as part of our meditation, we'd put our hands on somebody and see what kind of images we got. We discovered after a while that we didn't know we were doing Reiki, but at the time we were doing Reiki. We were just, doing healing energy. We did ear candling. I could tell you guys about when we did the ear candles, because I mean, I got my hair burned and my shirt burned, and I mean, we just did so many things. So anyway, one particular year, we decided that we were going to take some classes. I decided that I was going to take a psychic development class. I was going to a spiritualist church at the time and found out that they were going to give classes. There's a place not too far from here called Lilydale. It's Lilydale up in New York. And Lilydale, I don't know if any of you know about the community of Lilydale, but they have a lot of people there. It's a beautiful place. I've never been, honestly, but I understand that it's a beautiful place, and a lot of people that are in are who are psychics, who are clairvoyants. No, I don't think that it's a Quaker place. It's but although they are, they are very naturalist. But it's a whole community, and it's up in New York. If you look it up on the web, I'm sure you'll find out some information about Lilydale. But they've got all these spiritualists there that just are practicing spiritualists. And so this one woman who I thought was just extremely gifted, because I'd go to this church service and I spoke there too. I don't mean to make it sound like I was just a person who attended. I spoke there for a long while, and yeah, on a direct drive to God. Yeah, no middleman. So I used to speak at the church too. That was how I started going there. And after service, every time after service, they would have somebody who was a psychic get up, and they would just look out at the audience, and they'd all stand there. Usually only one per week would do it, but they asked the question, well, can I come to you? And as soon as you say yes or no, then they would tell what spirit had, for them to say to the people, either a person or to the general group. But that was how it was done. Can I come to you? And then they would say, I see some illness, or I see some money coming your way, or whatever it was. They would just kind of go through this whole thing. I remember this one woman said to me one time, she was like, Sandra, I was being told to tell you not to be afraid to say God, or not to be afraid to say Jesus. So yeah, it's just funny, the kind of stuff that you hear there. So anyway, I decided I was going to take a class in psychic development, because I wanted to be able to understand how to do this. I had read books before on being clairvoyant, because I mean, sometimes I get so much information without a clue from where it comes. Um, I needed to understand how to control it and how to use it, all of that stuff. So I took psychic development classes, and the whole prayer group, when I decided I was going to take the class, they were like, well, how dare you not include us? And so they all got into the class as well. I think one or two people didn't take the class, but for the most part, the core group took the class. And after we took the class, I mean, we would learn not only how to hear things. You can sometimes you get this thing, this pressure in your ear, and then you hear a voice that's not really there. It's like an internal voice. I've actually seen a ticker tape go across the bottom portion of my eyes that would say something that I needed to say out loud, and not know who it was for, just that I needed to say it. um, I would get sensations that would come over me. And it was like this knowing that I would get, like it came out of my bones, that kind of feeling that you just know what you know, and you don't know why you know it. I would see pictures in my mind. I mean, it was like so many different ways that I would get information, but all of this information, as I was trying to access it, was trying to access me, was looking for a speaker or a mouthpiece, if you will, to say what it was that it was trying to communicate to whoever was there. It could have been a particular person, or it could have just been for general information. And so that's why sometimes when I see these books that they say are channeled, such as the Course is, I don't doubt that any of it's true, because I know what it's like to be used in that particular way by spirit, by something that's outside of you and beyond your whole understanding. That's also one of the reasons why I try to study as much as I do, because I recognize that in order for me to get information, I have to have a general level of understanding. Because if stuff just comes out of the clear blue, I might not even understand how it all fits together, goes together, whatever. So I try to build a framework or have an operating system that can contain the information that comes to me. And I think that that's one of the things that it's kind of like trying to get somebody to communicate ideas that don't even have the vocabulary to utter the words to you. There's a certain vocabulary, a thought system, a feeling, learning how to express yourself that goes along with all the work that we do as teachers here. So it's part of the whole development process. And so that was what I was doing the whole time, was trying to 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 upgrade my operating system so that I can communicate ideas and share the things that I was getting. So the reasons why I'm telling you this stuff, let me think. I wrote it down, didn't I? The reason why I'm telling you all this is because part of me has this awareness that all of these teachings that I've been through, that I've received, that I'm a part of, that I have incorporated into my life, I have a deep love and respect for them, because I understand how some of this stuff comes into being. I mean, so it becomes this thing when like I was talking about yesterday. I don't know if all of you guys were here yesterday or not, but when I was talking yesterday about this whole concept of respecting that, the fact that you are the lensing point, that you were created to be here now, you and all of your awareness, all of your thought systems, all of your experiences, all of this stuff comes together in this perfect lens that you are. And so when I say lens, it's kind of like a camera lens that captures the rays and all the stuff that's coming through it. It captures it, and that lens, it goes through like the lenses of your glasses, or any kind of lens. You are the lensing point of this God consciousness, and it is necessary that you understand the richness that you bring to whatever you get. It'll be different. It will be different, and no need for you to be the same as somebody else. It'll be different because it's coming through your awareness, that filter that is that wonderful, perfect you. And so, as I stand up in this knowing, I know that oh, y'all, even sometimes when I'm getting, when I'm getting pictures, or when I'm trying to understand things, I recognize that some of the things that I get, you probably wouldn't even understand. So there was a lady. I'll give you an example. There was a lady that I was doing a reading on, and I'll tell you guys why I don't do this anymore too. Let me write that down. It doesn't work. That one doesn't work. There was a lady that was in the class that one day I was doing a reading, and one of the things that we were taught about was learning how to drop our consciousness and our thoughts down into our heart space, which was so much more pure than just staying in our head space. Sometimes we tend to intellectualize things. So when we're intellectualizing things, we already think that we know. Like, I can look at somebody and I can tell you, that I can pick up energy. I can feel people. Like when I met Susie, I can feel people. Um, and so you can look at somebody sometimes, and just by looking at them, you think you know a lot about them. But in truth, you may not get or know anything about them until you really like get out of your head and get into your heart. So I got into my heart space, and from my heart I connected with this woman's heart. And so as I'm connecting with her and I'm feeling her and I'm standing there and I'm trying to get impressions, what I saw was totally outside of the framework of my understanding. And I'll tell you why. This may seem silly to you, but for me, I remember thinking to myself, I see a beach, I see a sandy beach. Ah. But it was a really dark beach. It looked like it was cold. It looked like it was totally barren. It was not anything like a touristy beach that I might have visited on occasion. It was a sadness to this beach. It was a coldness to this beach, like nobody would go to this particular beach. And so as I'm like sitting there and I'm telling her that, at first I'm trying to edit. I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to tell her that because that makes no sense. And as I started, like telling her the information that I was seeing in my mind, it was like just by me releasing that information, I received more. But until I released that, nothing else would come, because it's kind of like if spirit is talking to me, it's kind of like it gets caught in this bottleneck. If I won't share, I won't get any more. The same for you. The same is true for you. When you're supposed to share something, when you're supposed to give something, if you're withholding, then you get withheld. You know how they say, as you treat your brother, or all of that stuff, it becomes this thing that not that you're withholding, not when you think you're withholding information. The real person that you're withholding information from is really only yourself, because it's coming through you, and it may seem like it's for this other person, but if you're being used by something greater than yourself, the thing is to get out of the way and stop judging it. So as I gave her more information, I received more information and confirmation for her that she knew exactly what beach I was talking about. As a matter of fact, she was talking about it was a beach from her childhood that they lived near up in like the New England states. And she was talking about the last time she was there, and on all this sadness that came up and blah, 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 blah. But it became this whole message just for her. It wasn't for me. I didn't need to understand it. All I needed to do was give it. So a lot of times when Dove talks about this idea of developing trust, that means that we come purely as vessels to be used, and it doesn't mean that we're always going to know what we're going to say or even why we say it, but just that opening of your mouth is this agreeing with spirit to allow it to use you to share with those that are around you, for no other reason than love just requires that you just let it flow. I love this when it happens like that. So now I have I need a breath. So I love y'all. Thank you for listening to me. So so why don't I still do these psychic things now? Is what I wrote down that I needed to say next. So so this was, and I said this was a while back ago. So from taking these psychic development courses and doing all these little readings, we had this group of women that would get together, and so our prayer group became a larger group, because now all of a sudden people wanted to get together and they wanted to sit in these circles and talk about um, and try to divine, try to get messages to give to one another. That was what we were doing. We would just sit there and it's like, okay, can I come to you? And then Spirit told me to tell you this. And so we would sit there for hours on end doing this. And I'm not saying anything is wrong with that, but that was what we were doing. And then it got to the point where it got really trivial. People would start asking questions and say, well, could you ask Spirit for me if I'm supposed to buy a car? Am I supposed to buy the red car or the blue car? Um, can you ask Spirit if this guy that I met on Saturday is the right guy for me? It kind of deteriorated into trivial stuff like that. And I remember even the wanting to know why somebody died, or I feel a pain in my neck, can you tell me what it is, that kind of thing. And I remember sitting there and I kept thinking, this is kind of like not where I wanted to go with this. I mean, for some reason it just seemed like it was supposed to be so much more. So I started having issues because what I saw was not that people weren't being authentic with the gift that all of us have access to. Not that people weren't being authentic with it. It was that people were giving away their power in order to receive information or messages. It's when we come into this plane, when we take on these bodies, when we're doing the work that we do, whatever that work is, it requires that we stand up strong in our awareness of who we are and the gifts that we have. It requires a certain spiritual musculature that we have to develop, a backbone, a spiritual backbone that says that we understand who we are and our connectedness to all that is. And if I'm trying to make my decisions outside of myself, then I'm dis can I say disempowering myself? That's exactly what it is, though. It's as if I'm giving my power away if I start to outsource my decision making. So it becomes this thing of trying to recognize how energy operates, how we flow our energy. So sure enough, we know that God is the only energy. We know God is the only presence, that we are source. God is the source of all of our supply. We understand that that is our source, right? That's it. But God is lensing through you. So that doesn't mean that you then come to me for me to make your decisions for you. That's not how it works. It means that we have to stand up in who we are. So if I'm abdicating every decision, if I'm doing everything out there, then there is nothing that I'm developing within. So it becomes this onus that each of us has to bring this energy into ourselves and then to be there for somebody else, to know that, that God is the one source. And God is giving that to you, not giving it um, to somebody else to give to you, not giving it to Jesus to give to you, not giving it to Chris to give to you, not giving it to anybody, giving it directly to you. So the example that I use all the time is this idea of like a light bulb. Like a light bulb, the energy source comes into the light bulb and it shines its light. It shines its own light. It's not over there trying to, telling the wall, hey, you know what, I'm gonna bounce. No, look, I I'm not gonna use my whole 100 watts. I'm going to, like, only shine at 60 watts, and then I guess you can bounce some back at me so I can get it. That's not the way it works. It's like it comes through you. It's in you. And so we need to stand up in that. So first off, I thought that I had this notion, I had this idea, even then, um, uh, that there was something inherently disempowering about always seeking answers to my questions or to any questions outside of self. Because if I understand God, then that means that I have access to God just like you have access to God, just like Jesus had access to God, and all of that. It comes in through me. I need to go into that. Okay. I don't need to go to a book. I don't need to go to not building consensus and all of that stuff. It's for me. So I'm owning that. I'm standing up in that truth. I'm doing what it is that I'm supposed to do. That's the one thing. The other thing was is that so I didn't want to be I wanted my I wanted all that energy. I wanted to stand up in that knowing. The other thing was is that and this will tell you how long ago this happened to me. Um, One particular day, when 9/11 happened, on the date of 9/11, all of us, I'm sure you all can remember exactly where you were and what was going on in your life at the time. So on this date, on 9/11, um, the group, we made a one of those robocalls or sent out little messages to everybody in the group, and we said, okay, we're going to meet over. I forget what her name is, but we were going to all meet over her house. She's a cute little lady from England too. We made the thing that we were all going to meet over her house on that day. We all sat in a circle, and after the tumultuousness of 9/11, I remember I wrote an article on that day that actually showed up in the newspaper, and got a couple of interviews off of it too. Um, and then later on that night, we came together in this circle, and we got together in this circle. We did some meditation. And then what we were going to do was we were going to tap into the energy and the people who had lost their lives on 9/11. And as we sat there in this group and we were meditating, we opened up to spirit. We did a spiritual prayer. We opened up, and we wanted to use ourselves for this purpose. And so some of the people in the group were talking about this. We're going to guide these people. Some of these people don't even know that they're dead. They're kind of like in this midway state of being, this midway point of energy, and they're confused about where they're supposed to go. So we, as these psychics, we're going to go into the state of consciousness and lead people into the light. And I remember when I first went in or went under into my meditation, I remember distinctly um, getting phone numbers from people who were asking. And I mean, it was like I just felt like I was inundated with all these voices of people who were trying to make a connection. And and they were trying to give out phone numbers and saying, could you call so and so for me? And I remember thinking how overwhelmed I was feeling by all of this, but we were just kind of like trying to do whatever we could do in this little psychic circle. And then all of a sudden, there was this, this thing I was, in my mind, I'm doing what all these other people are telling me that we ought to do. I'm going to lead this person to the light. Like I had never seen the light. I don't even know what the heck the light was. But this is what we had decided we were going to do. So I'm going to go and I'm going to participate in this too. And so here I go, like, okay, I'm going to lead this person to the light. And all of a sudden, up out of the right side of me, there was this energy that came up almost like, you know how if you can imagine somebody's chi coming at you, I mean, just like an invisible force of energy that just came up on the right side of me and just said to me that I was in a body for a reason and spirit was spirit for a reason, and as if there was a division of labor and I needed to stay where I'm at because I had work to do here and they were doing the work that they were supposed to do there, and the door just shut like bam. And I remember thinking to myself and thinking like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't know I had overstepped my bounds. I mean, for me, I was like thinking to myself, like, I wasn't supposed to be there. I wasn't supposed to be in this space and this energy trying to help out folks that had lost it. And I don't know what we were thinking. Maybe we thought that spirit was so limited that it couldn't handle people who may be in transition. you know, maybe we thought that they needed our help, as if there is some kind of way station. So it was this thing, this door slamming on us, on me, and nobody else got that. But I remember when I felt the slam, I opened my eyes up and I thought, wow, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to stay where I'm supposed to be because I've got work to do right where I am. I've got a body. I took it on. And I'll tell you, I took it on voluntarily. I mean, we all have this notion that we came here by divine appointment. We didn't just get, it wasn't like we got sucked out of the cosmos into the bodies that we're in. Like, like, here, take that and you go there. You volunteered. I signed up. I mean, for us to be in this form, in this human form, we signed up for it. And so for us to sit there and now all of a sudden act like, oh, I don't want any part of this human experience is bullshit. I'm sorry, it's bullshit. Okay, so there. And so, yes, you signed up to be here. And so since you're here, then what is it that needs to happen while you're in this body, while you're in this physical form? You want to be special, huh? Sorry. So sorry. I mean, but here's, and okay, so Dove put this up here. Dove put this up here. I want to be successful. I want to be a movie star. He says he wants to be special. But you know what? The funny thing about it is that our being here is just, you being here is special. But none of us are more special than anybody else. None of us, none of this stuff is more. So is success like I don't know what it is for you. I don't know what it is that makes you happy, what it is that's drawing you or pulling you. But success for me is this. Is that I have a mind to think, that I have the ability to express myself, that I have control of my life, of what I'm doing, of what I'm thinking. It's not about the dollars. It's not about, who sees me. It's not about any of that stuff. It's that I get to do what I love. Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. My bliss means that I get to talk. I get to be used for something bigger than what I am. I get to be used. And so, yeah, you've always felt like a failure. But how could you be a failure? I mean, so if you're not living out your truth, if you're not being authentic, if you're busy trying to do somebody else's message or live somebody else's life, I could see that. I can see you feeling like I failed at being myself. But all you have to do is show up to be who you are. Just showing up to be who you are is enough. It's enough. Society will tell us that we need all the window dressing stuff. Society, if you watch enough commercials, it'll tell you that you need a certain kind of car. It'll tell you that you need to have a certain kind of fun or something like that. What other people think is fun, I don't think is fun. You know, the cars that other people feel like they want to drive is not what I want to drive. The all the stuff, not what I want to do. It becomes a vehicle. It becomes a vehicle for doing some of the stuff that you want to do. But gosh, I mean, and how terrible is that when we have people trying to tell us what our journey is supposed to be. So that's like even that, you know, it's so funny when people try to tell me stuff. I have to balance it out with my own truth. My own truth may not be yours. So it's always funny when when people think things are attractive just because they know how much they're supposed to cost. You know, this I had somebody tell me the other day, I've got this jacket. I'll tell you guys this, okay? I've got this jacket that I just absolutely. I was walking through the Goodwill one day because I have this tendency to go in the Goodwill. I love the Goodwill. And I always go straight back to the electronics because I'm always finding some kind of little treasure in there. I've found so many treasures. I don't know how to tell y'all how many treasures that I found. Just treasures to me. And so I'm walking through the Goodwill. I go to the back because I always have to go to the computer section. I go to the book section. I look at the candles. There's certain things that I just have to look at. I mean, if I see a Goodwill, I just got to go in there to look. Um, and so as I'm walking back out of the Goodwill, I see this jacket that catches my eye. And I go over and I look at it and I thought, oh, this is an odd jacket. I mean, it's an odd feel. I check out the price and I'm thinking like $10. How can I beat this? I put it on. It looked like it had been made for me. So I bought the doggone jacket. When I get the jacket home, because it was so odd, I looked it up online and it was made in someplace, I don't even know where it was made. It was made someplace over overseas. I don't even know where. I'll have to tell you guys at some point. But I mean, it was like the part of the whole spiel of the website and the clothing line that they made was that it was living fabric and they were living clothes. And this jacket was like $395 and I got it for $10. And so it's like some people get caught up on the price of things. But I mean, but who cares about the price if it's what you love? I mean, if it's what you love, if you love a Volkswagen Beetle that they had back in the 70s and you still choose to drive that, who cares what people think about it? I mean, you have to, at a certain point, learn how to be true to you and true to what you are here to do. So my calling may not be to be a politician or a lawyer or a doctor even. My calling may just be just to speak and to talk and to share with people the truths that I mean, this is what gives me joy. And so if it gives me joy, why would I be busy trying to be who you are or do what you do? I need to do what it is that I do because God made me this way, right? God is the person who made me this way. And for me to think that I need to be another way is like telling God, I don't think you quite know what you're talking about. I don't think you quite got it right. You know what? I need to think again. That's the authority problem I talk about and that I talked about. So it becomes this thing of learning that your power lies in showing up to be who you are. You get strength from living out your truth, from your true self, not from, from Sandra's truth or from somebody else's truth. It's about living yours. So here's the other thing. If you're my savior, right? If you're showing up and just trying to be me and doing what I do and talking how I talk, then you're not doing your job, because your job might be, oh, I heard this story. I heard this story about how rocks become smooth. So, say for instance, you have a rock, and a rock starts off as just being a rock, right? But you ever notice that there's a different feel to a river rock than a regular rock? It's because partly because the water rushing over it and bumping up against it, and it bumping up against other rocks smooths out its rough edges. So the process, that sandpaper process, that rubbing process, that you being you and me being me, the process of the clash between us smooths out our rough edges, and that's part of how we get our beauty. It's finding out who we are in the midst of all the friction that goes on in life. So if your parents told you um, that, if your parents told you you were a failure, if your parents told you you were unattractive, I had a friend of mine who told me her dad used to call her the little ugly one, like it was a my little ugly girl, like that was a term of endearment. I mean, sometimes it's like we get in those situations so that, not so that we can be, we can stay down from it, but that we can, in spite of it, be lifted up from it. So I've shared, little Abner. I've shared before the thing that I heard Al Sharpton say. Al Sharpton, back in his days when he was just the Reverend Al Sharpton, he used to always have these like funny little quotes that he would do, or sayings that he would say. Now that he's got his own show, a little political show, he's a little different. I don't know if he quite does it like he used to. But he was saying, I saw him on this show, and he says, he says, if I come in this room, he says, and I come over there and I knocked you down, I knocked you out of that chair. He says, I knocked you on the floor. He was like, that's on me. He was like, but if I come back a week later and you still laying down there, that's on you. We all have to get up. These things in life that happen to us for our growth and our good. It's up to you to get up. It's up to you to stop stop taking on the absurdity that people tell us. It's up to you to understand your own greatness, to understand that you are that lensing point of God, not somebody else, but you. Not worrying about, who else all knows this truth. Because I'll tell you, in the spiritual community, people are big on that, like that consciousness that says, oh, I'm better than you because I know God, or I'm better than you because I can manifest this, or because I know that. I mean, people are big on that because I can quote some scripture, or I can quote the course, or all of this stuff. The ego does a job on us thinking that we can make ourselves better than somebody else based on even just the spiritual stuff. But all of us are given our own course. This is a course in miracles, right? But this course is individualized, like all courses are individualized just for you, just so you can figure out how to overcome those things in your life that are trying to keep you down. This is not about you trying to figure out, just how to get by, how to make it through the day, but for you to understand what you are, who you are, and that you are sourced in God. Mm. Oh, so you know what? It's so wonderful when we realize that nothing we can do can change the fact that you remain as God created you. And God said you were good. Who are you to think otherwise, right? Who are you to question all of that? I mean, just, that's part of the problem that we have. And so we need to move beyond all of that stuff and just start recognizing who and what we are. So what eyes are you looking through? You know, are you going to continue with those judgments that other people have about you, or are you going to accept your own? I recognize through, and as I started out with this, I recognize through all of the work that I did with that psychic energy, with that healing energy, I realized that there was something for me there that I needed to do and that I needed to learn. Some stuff that I needed to overcome. Um, I needed, so it was so much in there that was for me. That was one of the roads, and I don't know, you might not have heard me talk about those roads and those highways and byways that we all go down, but that was a course that I had taken. That was a road, a, a, a path that I had chose for myself that was rich with all these lessons that were there for me. We can choose to see things from a standpoint of being a failure, or we can look at things and see the richness that we've received from the path that we've taken, from what has gone on in our lives. We can be a victim or a victor. The choice for that is yours. I mean, so at this point, you have the choice to forgive what has happened, forgive the past, forgive the thoughts that you've accepted that were not your own. When somebody has told you that you were less than this, God's beloved child, right? The perfect child of God. When somebody has told you that you were less than that, forgive them and forgive yourself for believing it, even for a second. Forgive yourself. And then as you forgive all of that stuff, you can let it go. And then you can step into the awareness of your true self and who you truly are. You know, all of this stuff, all of it is here for your good, is here for your growth. Don't let it get you down. Don't let it beat you down. Stand up in this. Oh man. So I, Dove, I do believe, told me when I was here in Cleveland, he gave me the little card that breaks down your birthdays along with your lessons. And my birthday lesson, which is coming up, my birthday was I let my miracles replace all my grievances that I've ever had. I know that's not the way it goes, but that's the way I see it in my head. I let miracles replace my grievances. Let a miracle replace your grievance. Choose with your thoughts, with how you've seen yourself, how you've seen your life, how other people have treated you. Um, if you've got grievances with how you treat yourself and how you see yourself, miracle replace all of that. You know, I was watching some movie and the girl was saying of her father that ways of seeing the world, either that everything is a miracle. But since you're here, I know you know that the more you expect them, the more they'll show up in your life, in your world, and in your affairs. Mind can be changed. You don't have, you can see how wonderful and how great, and not not that anybody else isn't wonderful and great. You know, just let it be. Recognize that everything that you thought is just let that shine away. If you let all your grievances, all your problems. Remember, when I started out, I talked about an introduction that says, blocks to your awareness of love's presence. Those thoughts that you're having about yourself, those thoughts that you think other people are having about you, all of those things is what blocks you from your awareness. All that other junk just melt away and just accept the love. All right, y'all. Oh, I've gone over time. All right, so it's time for me to go. I love you. I love you. I love you. I'll be here next, well, if I'm not here, because next Tuesday is my birthday. If I'm not here, I'll have a recording on at 8 o'clock next Tuesday, and I'll be here on Wednesday. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. But God loves you most of all. Okay, so sandrasaidit.com is my website. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. It should be all overdone or redone. Follow me on Twitter at SanBishop. San. And on Facebook, Sandra D. Bishop. Or you can also like my Facebook page at facebook.com/Sandra Thrive. All of that is out there. I just hope you connect with me because I love you. All right. So thanks everybody for this time. And I'm dropping the mic. All right. See ya.